Credit card rewards feel like free money. You get cash back, airline miles, or points every time you buy something. It feels like the bank is just saying thanks for using their card. But nothing is ever truly free. The money for those points has to come from somewhere, and it does, mostly from other card users. Specifically, it comes from people who don't pay their full bill and get stuck with high interest or late fees. These rewards are basically a way to take money from people who are struggling and hand it to people who already have plenty. The system is built to make the rich richer while everyone else pays the tab. To see how this works, we need to look at how banks actually make their money. They have three main ways. First, there's a fee every time you use your card. When you buy a sandwich or a pair of shoes, the shop owner has to give a small piece of that money back to the bank. It's usually about 2 or 3%. This is why you'll see signs at small shops saying you have to spend at least $10 to use a card. They're just trying to keep enough money to stay in business. The second way is interest. This is where banks make the most money. If you don't pay your whole bill at the end of the month, the bank charges you for whatever's left. Right now, the average rate is over 20%. For some people, it's as high as 30%. If you owe $5,000, you're paying more than $1,000 a year just to keep that debt. Banks make tens of billions of dollars every year from people who can't quite clear their balance. The third way is just flat fees. This covers things like late fees, over-limit fees, or the annual cost to even have the card. These hit families who are struggling the hardest. A $35 late fee is nothing to a CEO with a huge salary, but for someone living paycheck to paycheck, it might mean they can't afford groceries that week. These fees, the interest, and the swipe charges all go into one giant pile of cash that banks use to pay for those free flights and hotels. In the credit card world, there are two types of people. First, you have the people who pay their bill in full every single month. They never pay any interest. Since they're getting points and cash back, they're actually coming out ahead. Then there are the people who carry a balance and pay that high interest every month. This creates what's called a cross-subsidy, which is just a fancy way of saying one group pays for the other's perks. The interest from the people in debt is what pays for the free vacations for the people who aren't. When we look at who these people are, there's a big split based on how much money they make. Most of the people in the top 10% pay off their cards every month because they have the cash. They're just there for the rewards. But families at the bottom often have to use credit cards just to survive or to handle an emergency. This means the people with the least money are basically paying for the vacations of the people who already have the most. This gap just keeps getting wider because the rewards aren't fair. If you have a great credit score and make a lot of money, banks give you the best cards with huge cash back. If your score is low, you might only get a basic card with tiny rewards or none at all. But both cards still have interest and fees. The whole system is built to send money up the ladder. The people who don't even need the points get the biggest rewards, while the person working hard to get by pays for it. Even if you only use cash, you're still paying for someone else's free flight. Most people don't realize this. Since shop owners have to give the bank a cut of every card sale, they just raise their prices for everyone. They don't charge you less for using cash. They charge everyone more to cover those bank fees. So, if you buy a $20 pizza with cash, you're probably paying an extra 50 cents just to cover the bank fees for the person behind you using a rewards card. The people who use cash are often the ones with the least money or people who can't get a bank account. They're paying a hidden tax on everything they buy. That money goes straight into the points balance of someone with a fancy card. It's a huge, hidden shift of money from poor families to wealthy ones. Governments have tried to fix this by putting a limit on those swipe fees. In Europe, those fees are way lower than they are in the US. When the fees go down, banks usually cut their rewards. They say they can't afford to give out points anymore. This shows that those rewards were never a gift from the bank. They were just money taken from everyone else and handed to card users. Years ago, the US passed a law called the Durbin Amendment to limit fees on debit cards. It helped some shop owners, but prices for shoppers didn't really go down. Instead, the banks just found new ways to charge fees or took away perks from checking accounts. There's still a big fight in Washington over this. Banks spend millions of dollars to keep the system the way it is because they make so much money from it. They tell the public that their rewards will go away if things change, but they don't talk about who's actually paying for them. It's a bit strange when you think about it. Money experts always tell you to use your card for everything to get the most points. For you, that's actually good advice. If the system is there, you might as well get your share. But for the country as a whole, it's a mess. It creates a loop where the people with the least are taxed by the banks to pay for perks for people who are doing just fine. So, next time you see an ad for a card with 50,000 bonus miles, remember where those miles come from. They were paid for by someone paying 30% interest on their groceries. They were paid for by a family hit with a late fee, because their check was a day late. And they were paid for by the person at the corner store buying milk with cash, not knowing they're helping a stranger fly to Hawaii. The free money is real, but it's paid for by the people who can afford it the least.